Okay, sorry, Julie. I will catch you back up on everything we just talked about. So we're talking about the chat right now, and if I want to I want to try to keep the chat as much as possible to like things about the program. We can, of course, talk about like personal things and stuff too a little bit, um, but anything as much about the program as possible. And if it starts to become just like too, hectic and overbearing and stuff, then we can shift to like an end of the day email or like end of the week email or, whatever makes the most sense based off of how many questions there are and stuff. Um, the good thing is that so with the next round, because we basically need like with all the data and stuff, we need kind of a lot of information at the beginning. And that's the difficult thing, like kind of getting everyone into Everfit. First of all, Everfit is just like very frustrating, to be honest. But there's no better app. Like Trainerize has their like, I don't know, Vico or whatever app, and it's no better. They all have like Trainerize's forum doesn't have a search function. Like there must be some issue with these apps and their search functions. Like I think we were just very you know, I think Facebook kind of set us up for the wrong expectations when it comes to searching things because these apps, none of them have it. So, yeah, so the search function, that's obviously an issue. Whenever someone comes from a different coach, they have to be like fully, like a lot of people have done like Alyssa's program, for example. They have to be like fully removed from that coach, not just archived, but like fully removed for them, or they have to use a different email for them to come in. And so like Everfit, the like transitions are a little bit clunky at the beginning, but that's not something, at least not in the beginning, that you would all have to worry about. Like Tyler would be taking care of the like tech issue side of things. Um, but the hard thing is that people don't understand that you're not that we're not the app, right? They think whatever the app is doing, it's because of us. And so putting out those fires can, it can be a little bit challenging because people are like, why is this not working? And it's like, we keep bothering customer service, but we literally can't get anything more from them. Like Tyler's been like messaging them every single day this week, and they basically just like brush us off. But anyways, so that's a little bit of the challenging thing at the beginning. The other thing, like I said, is the data. But the next round, what we're going to do is use a Google like sheet type thing, like a Google, I forgot what it's called, like questionnaire or whatever, that will take in all this information at once and then immediately just put it into a sheet so that you don't have to do that because a lot of the like startup period of the first like 2 weeks for Tyler and myself is literally just like copying and pasting like data and like putting in data like okay, this person's doing like the 2-day home and this is their starting weight and this is their birth year and like just things like that it's like okay, this should not you know this should not be this tedious. So we're hoping that that helps. And then from there, once all those things are in and you kind of get those first like two check-ins under your belt, from there it's really smooth sailing. Just kind of answering questions, doing the check-ins, and then obviously we hit the cut and there's a little bit more like, you know, concern leading up to the cut and stuff. And then, obviously some concern during the cut and stuff. But usually by that point, most people are kind of used to the cycle and what's going on and stuff. And so it kind of is pretty smooth sailing from then on out. The other thing, so talking about having you all and the other ladies from the first cohort in this cohort, um, the I like that because again, you all like motivate them in many ways and you all like um kind of like bring credence to the program and like um they start to feel like they start to like take a sigh of relief almost like okay, like we're in good hands, like things are good and all that stuff. And so the one thing that we keep discussing about it right now is moving to starting 4 times a year. So having one in the summer, having one start in the summer, one start in the fall, one start, in the winter, one start in the spring. But the issue right now is that we would have no one to come in to the fall and spring cohorts. And so we would almost have to have like, you know, coaches that like just jump into the forum and like be there in the forum and stuff. But then then there would only be like two of you and it would be less. So anyways, this isn't necessarily for you all to like worry about. It's something that we're thinking about. If anyone has any thoughts about this and how to, streamline this a little bit better, we're definitely all ears about that. Eventually, like, they were talking about having a new cohort a month and stuff, but then obviously we would run into this issue like 12 times a year, or well, really like 11 times a year at the start, right? Um, so, so it's the other thing that we're considering is like, okay, instead of doing it, 12 times a year or even every spring, winter, etc. Season. We just do it the two times a year, but just have more cohorts. So like based off of demand. So we have like we're running like three at a time, and like I am partial to that because the reason I'm partial to that is that when we do like the Q&A on Friday, everyone being there, like we'll all be on the same page. The office hours, like we'll all be on the same page. Like we're all going through this together, even if you're in a different coach's cohort. Um, but from a marketing standpoint, it would be better to do it the four times a year because you keep, you keep people interested, basically. Um, the two times a year, there's more of the scarcity, and so that can also help drive marketing too. So, again, we're going back and forth and like really considering these things and kind of how to, optimize it. But I really like that we do everything together. I think that is really helpful versus like a lot of people have, programs where they like open it up during certain times of the year, but then you have people that are doing all different things in the program, and then that can make, the Q&As challenging because, like it would be like, okay, you have someone that's just starting, but then you have this other group that they're about to start their cut and like, yeah. So things that we're like thinking about. I just wanted to keep you all in the loop in terms of like expanding and stuff, growing.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
So I was on the waiting list initially. And so like I was super excited to get in. So I don't think I started until like mid-January. So I missed kind of the first couple weeks. Um, do you still have that waiting list? Because I think like if I hadn't got in, I would hope I would have joined 6 months later. But yeah, I think that is one of those things where it's like, oh, bummer, like 6 months is a long time. So I do feel like a lot of people depending on if there is a waiting list or not, offering it more frequently, and I've been in programs in the past where it's like you start and you learn for the first 6 weeks and then you go into like a VIP or, so I'm sure you can like structure it a different way, but you're right. Like trying to keep everybody, along the same kind of line is helpful.
Yeah, so we do have a wait list. I know it's linked on my Instagram. I think it's linked to my Substack too. I know it's linked on Ash and Sarah's website, but you kind of have to like navigate to their Train to Change page, then takes you to the Transform page. So I can definitely send out the link for, for everyone here. And they do like periodically, and they're going to be better at this over the next year, but they do periodically like send out emails to the people on the wait list to kind of continue to maintain some amount of like interest. And they really try to get people to join Train to Change. And then once they're in Train to Change, they actually like start the training side of things. And then they're like, okay, everyone Train to Change, like we open this up to you. Do you want to join Transform? You'd be the first ones in basically to transform and stuff. So the nice thing about Train to Change is that it does provide a little bit of a funnel there. Um, but but yeah. So
Okay.
yes, Samantha.
I was just gonna say that I think I like the idea of quarterly, and I'm wondering if how you've done the master maintenance thing. I wonder if there's a way that like people on a wait list could, start working on some of the foundational stuff, even if it's the easy offhand stuff, like get sunlight. I don't know, like or throwing like a bone to them there, or like even maybe further down the line, it's like they kind of start with like less hands on their own while they're like not in the program to like knock out some of the stuff that might feel overwhelming and so that they don't have as much to like do to get like caught up. I
Yeah.
don't know. Those are just some thoughts.
Yeah, that's so Ash and Sarah are definitely planning to put out more emails related to kind of like the quote unquote basics and like starting to do these every single day and like, getting started with tracking and stuff like that. And we are going to start back up with some of the podcasts and stuff, which that really helps drive a lot too, is for sure the podcast discussions. Um, the it just goes back to I think a timing thing at the end of the day. Um, just having everyone at a different moment in time. But that's definitely something that we can overcome. And if we have to eventually move to like two Q&As a week, not for the coaches, but like for the Friday big Q&A, we could definitely do that. And even like move to two office hours and stuff. It really just depends on like, you know, for me, like personally, once like Henry's getting older, he's about to turn 2 in September. So the more he's getting older, the more I can like do things and stuff. So that's really the time limiter, really, is those things, personal
In
problems.
in Train to Change, do they do a lot of the stuff that we're doing? I've never been in there. I'm asking because I don't know, I just wonder if some of the like even if you could like roll out something where they learn how to like track their macros or like little it could even be like an offshoot where they pay like something, I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
that
anything to like streamline the beginning.
Yeah, that's really why we started master maintenance. But the hard thing is that the more you start having someone do, the more nuance they want. And so the more they start to message and everything, and then that's where then it's like customer service support. Like Sarah's like inundated all day long with customer service questions from like the root and resilience course, right? And so that's like a one-time fee, right? And so, but it's like ongoing because of the one-time fee. And so that's where the big issue comes in with Train to Change. So the programming, so it's the lifting side, and then they also do some of the measurement check-ins, like the waist and body weight, like I think once a week or bi-weekly. So that's there. The programming is similar. Once we kind of get this going a little bit more smoothly, I'm going to go in there and kind of like revamp a little bit more of the programming with Tyler to kind of get some more of the like plyometrics and prehab stuff in there, and everything. It's like focused on progressive overload, which is great. That's like what we want to focus on and stuff. And straight sets and basically like how the workout portion of your all's workout looks. But we want to make it a little bit more like well-rounded and stuff. So we'll do that. And so again, like from the training side of things, it's a good initial entry for a lot of people. Um, I think for some people though, the training side, like they look at they it depends on the person that's coming into the program because a lot of people when they're first coming into the program, they're not really coming in for the training side of things. It just happens to be like a good byproduct. And then over time they realize like, oh, this is actually really important. So without the other things, a lot of people won't sign up for Train to Change because they're like, well, I don't really want to do this, you know. Um, so so yeah, I mean, we've also talked about like doing eventually having a group that's like a long-term maintenance group, especially for the people that come in where their calories are so low. And it's like we just need even longer to get your calories up high enough and stuff. But again, the issue is that the more people you have, the more like customer service support you basically have to start having and stuff. And so those are really the limitations of it, I would say.
Do you think there's any way to offer something educational to prepare them that wouldn't require
Yeah, I mean, we
like you'd be able to have to be there and be on an answer?
Yeah, yeah. I think again, so with like the emails and stuff that Ash and Sarah are going to start putting out, like it's going to start having like these are the things to start doing and stuff. The problem is that most people already know these things. They're just not doing it. And so that's a lot of the big reason why people sign up for Transform and then why a lot of ladies continued on with Transform is because they just want someone to check in with. And so like if you were to ask someone like, hey, what's the best way to like figure out your food. At this point in time, they'd probably say I probably need to do some form of tracking, whether it's actual tracking with like a scale and chronometer versus like the plate method or something. Like most people nowadays realize they need to have some form of like, checking in with things and stuff, but they're just not doing it. And so, um, even if we were to provide more, and we're going to, but even if we're going to provide more educational things, like people will kind of haphazardly do it, and then they're going to come into the program and they're like, okay, now I'm going to actually do it. Um, yeah. So, but we can keep talking about these things in the future because there's like, there's a lot there. But we really want to hear from you all, like what would be, given everything you've gone through so far, everything you've seen with the first, like, I guess, what, 2 weeks of the new cohort, like, what would be the most helpful for you at this point in time in order to begin the process of starting to prepare you to coach?
I think it's just helpful knowing like what you guys are doing, meaning like I know some of it is technical, so I get that as far as like responding to things, but I think I mean, I know you asked earlier, Kathleen, like what were we expecting to like get out of these calls and whatever. And I think just having some form of training of how you guys go about what's done like each week, what the focus is. It's obviously we can generally pick up on things where a lot of it is responding in the forum to questions. I feel pretty clear on that. Like basically, you want us to engage and answer questions mainly from our own experience. But obviously, that's different than if in future two of us or three of us are leading like a group on our own. So I feel like to answer your question, it'd be helpful to if on these calls, I don't know if we're doing them weekly or how often I forget, but just if there's some type of walking through of a little more structured of what you would want us to be doing other than just answering questions in the forum.
Yeah, that's definitely our plan. Especially once this like Sheets document is kind of every single time like Tyler would input a new person, he would like break it. So because there's always the nuance, there's always the rules, and so that's why like we're trying to make it as best as possible so you all don't have to be like, oh, I don't really know what to do in this situation. But sometimes when it comes down to it, you do have to just kind of make, your best guess in a way. Understanding that there's a person in front of you, you want to do best as possible by them and stuff. Um, but also understanding that you also have 99 other people, and so you can't just, it's not a one-to-one relationship and stuff. So, but yes, we will definitely start to go walk you all through the back end of things and, showing you kind of what we do day to day. Like I said, the beginning part is kind of like a little bit frantic, but we're always trying to optimize. That's why we're having the Google's Docs and stuff this next round. But we're always trying to optimize like getting that data so then we don't have to take our time doing it. And then from there, it becomes, pretty much just doing the check-ins, answering any inbox issues, and then doing the community forum. And that's about it. So what's up, Tiffany?
Yeah, sorry if this is redundant because it might be similar to what Danielle's saying, but I think yeah, maybe if as we do the weekly calls and stuff like that, mentoring calls, maybe we go through like modules, if that makes sense, like form checks, what to look for each of the exercises that you guys plan to do for those the 12-week circuit or something, so then we can kind of be aware of that, or how you think about your calorie breakdowns, like how you guys enter that into Everfit or go through that, which sorry, again, if this is redundant to what you already answered, but I feel like that would be helpful just, yeah, to kind of pick your brain and figure out like kind of week to week, maybe there's a topic we focus on so that we could kind of understand how you guys look at things.
Yeah, definitely. And again, too, I don't want you all to like feel like at the end of this that you must know every single answer because like even Tyler and I go back and forth about certain things, about people, and like I said, we're always going to have that. So, yeah, but yeah, we will definitely start to um, have you come all into the back end and actually start seeing what it looks like in the back end, what the like check-in messages kind of look like, how you change the calories and macros on EverFit, all of that stuff. So it is, I know it's a little bit maybe frustrating on your end that we're not going in and changing Chronometer anymore, but I have to say from a like coach's point of view, it's way, way better that we're not changing Chronometer anymore
No,
because
I think it's a good call for what it's worth. I don't think it's frustrating at all. I actually am glad now. At first, I was like, I couldn't figure out how to do it. I'm like, I just needed to, as soon as I knew how to do it. But I think that's great because then it also gives more empowerment in the hands of the person as well, of like taking charge of, yeah. So no, that is great.
yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, that's another thing. So like even with the steps and like having where you have to actually log the steps and stuff, a lot of it was how do we, of course, like how do we take some of the time off of our plate, but also like how do we bring more of these things even more into the consciousness, like the direct awareness of the person, to like help them, get to the point of like understanding themselves, their patterns, etc., even more quickly than like last time and stuff. So yeah, I appreciate that. So
I actually had a clarifying question on the steps because in like basically I have my steps linked to EverFit through my Aura ring and it shows the average, it shows it's all in there. So I wanted to clarify, I'm assuming it's yes, but on that new task where you enter your steps, do I still go in even though I have a wearable that's tracked automatically?
yeah, we would definitely appreciate if you input them into
No
just
problem. Okay.
yeah, just to get and again, this is kind of where the nuance comes in, right? Because like you're going to realize, especially when, as a coach, some clients like love the app and like checking the boxes and stuff. They're like, that really motivates them to see it and they're like, oh my goodness, I have a missed task. Like, where's the missed task? Other people hate it. They're like, I'm not checking anything. And so then it's like, okay, but the steps, like you don't necessarily need to input them, but then at the end of the check-in, like we would want you to say like, okay, I hit, at least 8,000 steps, like 7 out of 7 days or something, something like so that we know that you've actually been like paying attention versus just kind of like letting things subliminally go into an app.
Like I will weigh myself and log everything I eat every single day, but I am not a check off person on the app.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah. I understand. Samantha.
My thought was, and maybe this comes further down the line after we've done some group calls and learning, but I think like doing like case studies or like practicing with each other,
Yeah.
because that would like take a little bit off your plate too, like where we could like you could like give us an example and then we could like practice and then if we had questions or like wanted to see how we did, we could like submit it to you and you could look it over. I don't know. I think that's really good, like to like have a real life example and like try to like think through it for yourself,
Yeah. I agree.
whether it's a form check or like this person checked in this week and they had like their weight was up and like this was what's going on in their life, and so we could kind of like break it down for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. I think that's great. So, what about anything else? Daria, Kelly, Sarah. It's okay if you don't have anything. This is, like I said, just a very informal first kind of meeting with you all just to say
I
hi.
have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people in the forum mentioned that they did like some sort of like a functional health certification, or there's different programs. It's I've looked into that a lot, but it's really hard to know, something that would be Transform approved. So I was wondering if that's something that you have a recommendation for, or if it's just like, hey, Kathleen's my teacher right now, like.
So I I don't subscribe to appeal to authority. I think it's a fallacy, obviously, and so I don't think that you necessarily need a title behind your name.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I have a master's of science and physics and a master's of engineering and chemical engineering. Like like my research in physics was on cancer, calcium oscillations, and specifically like isotopes for them. But like you know, my research in chemical engineering was more on, again, cancer and calcium oscillations from like a metabolic standpoint. But like nothing, nothing like this. And I did get my NASM CPT or whatever it's called, and then I just like let it lapse because you don't have to have it in the state of California. That is one thing though. I would just verify with your state. Most states don't require a NASM CPT, a certified personal trainer, to, but some states do, even for online, anything that involves like lifting in any way. So I would just verify with your state that you don't have to get anything like that. But other than something like that, we our like disclaimers and everything that you sign at the beginning are like very robust. Like Ash and Sarah's dad is a lawyer, and he always looks over everything to like make sure that we are covering ourselves as best as possible and stuff. So, and the things that we're like recommending people to do are like basic things, right? And like we generally like we do generally talk about like some generalities when it comes to supplements, and if people have like questions about certain medications and stuff like that, but it's always now go back to your prescribing doctor and like discuss this with them, right? um so yeah, so there's nothing from like a legal standpoint that we really see would other than like using people's data and stuff. But we did a way better job of like making sure that people understood that we're going to actually use the data now. Not that we're not going to like post anything specific to a specific person, but like to like collate more of the data so that we can then say like, oh, on average people started here, lost this much, like all of that stuff. So we have that going forward. But yeah, you don't need to have anything. I would say like some of the programs are really good. The problem is that like a lot of them just really lack nuance, right? It's always like this is the only way. Like
Right.
you must have seeds, or you must be vegan, or like you know like whatever. And I think, I mean, hopefully you all realize now that like it really just goes back to the individual, where they're starting, like meeting the person where they're starting at, where they're going to, their circumstances in life, like all of that stuff. So that's why I don't necessarily think that you need, I even when it comes to like my credentials, like in order to actually see that I have two master's degrees, you have to like go to my About Me page on Substack, right? Like I don't like put that out there and stuff. So I think what really will shine through is, um, showing up for your people, um, getting people results, obviously, right? And just like having a good program. And so I don't think you need to have letters behind your name to like show that you can do those things, and that you do it better than like everyone else out there, because that's our goal. And a little bit of a rocky start again with the tech stuff, but we're every single time we're working to get better and better, right? Like small steps forward. So, um,
Yeah. No, I love like the rooted in resilience. I thought like that was a great like nutrition type program, without any letters behind my name, but just like education just to kind of get up to speed on kind of the philosophy. So no, that's perfect.
I think
All,
a lot
all
of
I'm going
the,
to put in is
Go
that in my training, it's always about backing it up. Like you said, Kathleen, it's all bio-individual. And, the cornerstones in my training are sleep, poop, and blood sugar balance. And, the basic skills of life, which is what this is training people to do. So I'm always going to ask questions, which I don't know if that's a good thing. I'm going to ask questions of them regarding those elements, and still like marry it with the philosophy of this program. So that's where I'm coming from.
yeah, and we also want to make sure that you all understand that we don't expect you to be like robots. Like you all come, like the reason why we like selected you all is because you in many ways like round us out as a team, right? And so we want you to bring your unique personality, gifts, all of that stuff to the program. And eventually like one day it would be great that like if you had like a participant could be like, I want to join, Danielle's team, and I want Danielle as my coach because I really jive with her, for example, right? So those are all things that we're like thinking about in the future, always though with the like foundation of what the actual program is, right? Like we don't want to, you know, we don't want to go from like, okay, this is kind of the process to, okay, this group like decides they're going to go carnivore, for example, right? Like we wouldn't want that to happen. So, but yeah, I think that's great. Kelly, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say a lot of the coaching, the training programs weren't exactly what I was thinking they were going to be. It's a lot of motivational interviewing. And I feel like if you have children and a good relationship with like your spouse, you already know how to do all that. So I think I think you're going to learn just as much from Tyler and Kathleen than you would, and the right things, like, right. So they're not looking for coaches that they got to change what they've already learned. So I think, just what you're going to learn in this is going to be plenty enough.
Definitely. All right. Well, I know I said about 45 minutes, and so we're basically there. If anyone has any like last things, and of course, please use the chat, especially if you start to notice things. Like I think that the best way to learn is to ask questions, right? Because like Tyler and I can give you all what we think is important, but if it's like, okay, I don't care about this, I already know about this, I actually care about that, like please ask us those questions so we can address them. And then, like I said, once he gets back next week, we'll do another poll. I'm really sorry about the poll. I really don't understand why it shifted it a day. I really apologize. But once he gets back next week, we'll do another poll to, get more of a consistent time and day, so you all know pretty much like every week when the call will be and stuff. They'll always be recorded. We do as much as possible want you all to come so that we can ask like the questions live and stuff like that. But if like life happens, of course, so if you can't come to a call, like some of these calls, my sons will probably be with me. So like, don't feel, don't feel like you have to be in a quiet space and all that stuff. But yeah, we'll get started there, and we'll definitely start, like I said, to kind of show the beginning process, because what we want to do is like as we're going through it, we show you all everything so that you kind of see the pieces as we go through it versus like in real time. That's like we're also updating it for the next round in real time to make it better like in the moment, so that we don't get to the end and we're like, oh my goodness, we wanted to do all of these things and we have like a week to do them basically. So we're hoping that continues to help with everything. But yeah, like I said, if any last questions, or you're like we get off and you're like, oh, I should have asked this, like please just send it to the messages and we'll get going from there.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'll stay on so that you can ask me. Once everyone is off, we'll talk.